What do the professionals say about securing your hotel? Do they still believe it can be done? What will the future bring us? Welcome to Never Check Out. We welcome Marvin Marquese in our studio. Who is Marvin according to Bing Chat? Marvin Marquese is the manager, sales engineers and product specialist at Kaseya, a company that provides software solutions for IT management. He has 15 years of experience working in the managed service provider landscape and a broad knowledge of Kaseya's product portfolio. He also worked in IT security before joining Kaseya. He has a profile on LinkedIn where he lists his skills and endorsements. He has also been a speaker at various events such as Connect IT and Intelligent Automation. Welcome, Marvin. Who are you really?
Who am I really? Somebody from The Hague, I think, where you were born as well, or has spent a lot of time as well, I guess.
Sorry, I'm from Rotterdam.
I'm not trying to offend you. Like you told me before, right? I'm the manager of solution engineering for Kaseya. Actually, have been doing that for almost close to 18 years nowadays.
Wow.
So it has been a long time in this landscape. But working for Kaseya has been a blast because of the many versions of Kaseya that we have gone through until this time, right? Because when I started to work at Kaseya, I was, I think, employee number 30 or something, and we're getting closer to 5,000 employees nowadays. So, and with all of the different Kaseya brands that we have and products that we have, especially when you're working in IT, it is enjoyable, right?
So you're a professional, right?
I'm not sure if you can classify me as a professional.
I hope so.
Maybe outside people will say that. Yeah,
all right.
Especially because I've been around for that long time. I don't know if somebody can enjoy the knowledge I have or use the knowledge that I have. But,
as an expert, then, Marvin, are we still able to secure our networks from your point of view?
When you speak about we, can you be more specific?
Well, you're at the podcast called Never Check Out. So we are automating hotels, talking to hotel employees, talking to hotel managers, IT staff. So if we're talking about networks, in this case, we're talking about hotel networks.
Yeah.
And from your point of view, maybe from Kaseya, can we assure that it's actually protected?
I think it's in the end, when you speak about we, it's going to be a joint effort, right? An hotel all by itself, an IT administrator at an hotel cannot do it all by himself. You need an MSP nowadays. You need a good products that will be able to protect you, right? Again, it's an arms race from an hacker's perspective or a bad actor's perspective nowadays, and that arms race cannot be done all by yourself. So you need, again, I would say 3 Ps, right? Process, people, and good product. And that starts typically with the different products that will protect you, right? Layered security, making sure that you have AV in place, making sure that you have typically an EDR in place, right? It's a more specialist eye, so to say, to everything that is happening inside of your network. And then maybe even having a little bit more of a specialized approach to that with a managed SOC in place, right? Bad actors basically don't work office hours nowadays. So you need to have basically a hotel security guide or a guard that works 24/7 for you and looks at the cameras to see what is happening at all of your hotel hallways when everybody's sleeping, right? Because that's the thing.
So if I listen closely, I mean, criminals can always enter. It's a myth that we can protect them. We can do whatever we need to do. It's basically, please break into the neighbors because we're better secured?
If we can achieve that, that is always a good, I would say a good rule, right?
Okay.
You need to make sure that all of these applications are doing its work and that you have good personnel that is doing that for you. And again, leaning on managed SOC applications or EDR solutions will typically help you to do that because that's where the skilled folks are helping you to leave the bad guys out, basically, right? That's what it's all about now.
And is that just for the time being, or how do we see the future?
The future is enjoyable, I would say, right? Especially as a technician. We're talking about AI, we're talking about quantum computing, and all sorts of things that are occurring in that market space. I think when we look at AI, right, that's one of the typical terms that are passing by in the news pretty well often nowadays. We basically have two kinds of people, I would say, right? People that say we need to pause that, and people that say, well, let's progress it because technology is going to help us further. And I think I belong to the last part, right? It is going to help us eventually, right? Even for the side of basically the bad side, I think AI is going to help the bad actors, but it's also going to improve the good actors, so to say, in regards of protecting environments. So
right.
That is something good to AI, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the podcast is about security, not just about AI.
Yeah.
So if we look at the future and about security, I mean, are there ways to protect us fully, or is it always a mindset, or are there people involved? How does that work?
I think in the end, you need to do your uttermost best to protect each and every layer, right? Especially when you're talking about a layered security approach, do your uttermost best on backup, on educating people, right, on what not to click on, making sure that your firewalls and your AV is up to date, that you have all of the other applications that will protect yourself, but. Again, it's an arms race, right? So there will always be a bad actor that is able to get in, and then it's all about making sure that dwell time that we typically speak about, right? How that we can detect it as soon as possible and make sure that we can make sure it is not enrolled into the larger environment of the hotel or the overall company, right?
So the biggest challenge is to make sure that you have the right technology in place, that the mindset is right, that awareness is there.
Yep.
I hear you talking about EDR and SOC and those sorts of terms.
Yeah.
Most of our viewers or listeners are hoteliers or maybe not that technical.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is an EDR or an MDR?
So basically, EDR is helping you to protect with. So where it basically AV stops, EDR kicks in, right? It's basically looking at all of the information that is being collected from the outside, from the inside, and then it's basically monitoring if there is some bad behavior in that regard taking place, and if there is bad behavior taking place, that we can just basically kill it, right? Or making sure that will not happen eventually.
And bad behavior is from the outside world. If somebody's screwing around on your network, that pardon my French.
Yeah. Well, that's in the end what you're trying to make sure is not happening.
It's not behavior of the actual person sitting behind the computer, but
no, it's really looking at the bad actor side, right? Looking from the inside, or from the outside, who are the bad actors from the outside, and protecting you against that. That said, of course, when we speak about dwell time, right? That's a security term, but it's basically meaning that a bad actor is in-house already, right? Inside of your hotel. And looking at the data, basically spending time to figure out where they can, leave ransomware to at some point encrypt information from you and get money from you at some point, right? And that's what we're trying to block eventually with an EDR.
And the dwell time basically is to get out information.
Yeah.
Then they put some ransomware in there, so you're completely blocked.
Yeah.
They can blackmail you with the information they got.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what we're
not just about getting the data back, but also throwing your data on the street.
Exactly.
So even if you have your BCDR, business continuity, everything in order, your backups, you still want to prevent that they take information,
correct.
right?
Yeah, correct. Yep.
Okay. So if it's a matter of time, and if you say, it's just a matter of time to get into those networks, even if you are protected, even if you have the right mindset. Do you think the internet will stay open as it is? It's your personal opinion.
My personal opinion, yeah. So I think we have to, right? I think internet is for everybody. That's my personal opinion. I think. I read something about it yesterday that still, I think 50% of the world doesn't have access to it, right? Mm-hmm. And eventually, if we look at ourselves over the last couple of years, it helped us massively, right? So it will improve the part of the world that doesn't have access to it. Does it become a problem? Is it difficult or more difficult to protect everything? Mm-hmm. Yes, it is, right? So I understand basically that we're thinking about blocking certain things and making it less open than it is, because it makes sense, right? The amount of impact it can have if something happens or fails is massive nowadays. So I think it's a balance between less less open and more open, right? Depends on what kind of data you're searching for, looking for.
If you compare it with the streets, I mean, the police is there. You can't do anything on the everything on the street that you like. Maybe I mean, you're arrested for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to tighten it down, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and that's the balancing act, right? So partially just making sure that it's closed down, and partially make sure that certain things are open for that type of data.
Also making sure it's not another China, right?
Yeah, making sure, especially on that side, right? Yeah. We have some parts of the world that are a bit unfriendly to the western parts of the world, and that's what we need to protect also.
Definitely. We just had a quick talk already about AI and the security.
Yeah.
So AI is there nowadays. ChatGPT. There's a lot of chatter going on the internet.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people writing. Do you think AI is a risk just because of AI, but also because of impersonation, for instance?
Yeah, like I said before, right? There is a risk eventually, right? The impersonating stuff is really occurring, right? It's the bad actors again trying to use the LLMs, right? The language models that are being used by ChatGPT as well, and other platforms, of course. Making sure that is not being used again is a big promise by the different platforms. But again, I think jailbreaking is happening, right? The way to make sure that you can crack an Apple phone, that's a great example. That is currently happening with the different AI platforms out there as well. Just making sure that you can avoid the rules and use the platforms to hack or to make sure that you can search for vulnerabilities. That is happening. But again, in the end, what is happening also is that we can use it in our benefit as well. And again, I believe in that type of energy, that we are the good guys, that we're spending on it is very useful and helpful for, again, securing our environments using AI technology as well.
Yeah, as an example?
I don't know. Again, vulnerability searching, right? Basically, it's not allowed, right? It is allowed, but with applying those rules to chat, you can actually search for vulnerabilities in your environment. So you can use that in a good sense and in a bad way, right? So there are two ways of doing that and applying that to your business. And again, it is helping you, right? I see other platforms as well using it in a good way to be more efficient, to go through tons of data, and that's what ChatGPT or AI is helping you with as well. Eventually, you cannot read everything. That's, again, if we're looking at managed SOC as an example, right? In the end, it's coming down to that as well. You need skilled teams to extract all of the data, to go through all of that data and make sure that there's nothing happening to an hotel's environment, for example.
So we need the power as well from AI, right?
Yeah, you need the power. Yeah. There's so much data that we need to plow through nowadays. Yeah. So the more you can automate, the more you can use AI for it, it benefits us, right? It's more efficient than using skilled people in the end.
And we can rely on Kaseya also.
Exactly, yeah. And that's why we have those platforms that use machine learning principles as well, to make it more efficient in the end for MSPs or MSSPs like you, right? To make sure that you can protect your customers' environment, that you can do it more efficiently, that they can rely on you, that there's nothing happening, and that they can produce the value that they need to produce to their customers, right? So
okay, clear.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Marwin. It's been quite inspiring.
Likewise.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So, thank you for coming to the studio in this great talk. For our viewers and listeners, I hope this was an inspiring session for you. Please subscribe to the podcast by clicking on the link. And remember, you can always check in, but never check out.